Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing a premiere draft of Murders at Karlov Manor with an Alchemy card added to every pack. Without further ado, let's get into our pack one, pick one. I have not read the Alchemy cards yet, so it'll be my first time checking them all out here, but I can't imagine this is going to be better than Aurelia's Vindicator. Vico, or Veko, Death's Doorkeeper, is a white and a black for a 1/3 with Extort, so as you cast spells, you can spend an additional white or black mana to drain your opponent for a life. You can tap and sacrifice a non-spirit to return a creature from your graveyard to your hand, make it a spirit with base power and toughness 1/1, and gain the ability of paying white or a black instead of paying its mana cost. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a really cool card that's definitely kind of powerful for sure, especially if you have token production, getting some of those 2/2 detective tokens or 1/1 dogs, sacrificing those to start picking up creatures from your grave, making them 1 mana 1/1s that still have the rest of their abilities. Really cool card, pretty strong. Those are easy to extort as well. 1 mana to play your 1/1 and then just spend an additional 1 to drain your opponent for a life. It's pretty sweet, but Aurelia's Vindicator is just a busted mythic rare that can exile the whole board when you flip it up, and it's a super hard to kill giant flyer, and it lifelinks you to never lose the race, so we're still going to take Vindicator there. For pack 1, pick 2, probably Makeshift Binding, but we'll see what the Alchemy card is here. Scrutiny of the Guild Pact. 1 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you may choose a creature card in your hand. If you do, that card perpetually incorporates a white and gains, when you cast a spell, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Multicolored creatures you control will get +1/+1. So you play this, you pick a creature in your hand, preferably a non-white multicolored, or sorry, a non-white monocolored creature, so that you're turning that creature into something multicolored, and then when you play that creature, you're going to have that as a multicolored creature and the detective as a multicolored creature. It's actually cool enough. I'll try that out here over Makeshift Binding. Almost definitely supposed to be Makeshift Binding, as really efficient, really great removal. But I do want to try some new Alchemy cards, and I did kind of have to spend my first pick taking a non-Alchemy card, so we'll make sure we get at least 1 per pack, because there is 1 per pack. So each player on average ends up with about 3 Alchemy cards in their pool. For pack 1, pick 3, we've got a Sprout Watch Dryad, 3 mana 3/3. At the beginning of each combat, gains flying if you... until end of turn if a creature you control or a card in your hand has flying. Same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible Lifelink, Menace Reach, Trample, Vigilance. So if we play Sprout Watch Dryad, and we have Aurelia's Vindicator in hand, it's a 3 mana 3/3 flying lifelink. It's pretty cool. It is double green, so it's a little hard to cast, but it's a cool Alchemy card to build with. We'll take that as well. For pick number 4, we are down to regular cards. For Murders at Karlov Manor, we've got Aftermath Analyst and Bite Down on Crime that are on color. The Aftermath Analyst is good in decks that are trying to fill the graveyard and collect a lot of evidence. That's not really what green-white is doing, though. It's just kind of general aggro stuff, where a solid cheap removal spell like Bite Down on Crime will be good. I don't think there's anything off-color that's all that powerful. I think Bite Down on Crime is tied with the strongest cards in the pack, like maybe Dronesmith for blue-red artifacts, or I don't know. Kind of it. Pretty weak pack overall, but pretty happy to take Bite Down on Crime, be some green-white aggro. For pick number 5, Museum Night Watch is a solid filler creature, trading off and spitting out a 2/2 detective when it dies. That detective is a multicolored creature to get buffed by the Scrutiny of the Guild Pact, so that's pretty cute. I think the really nice thing about this card is that even if you don't end up with any other multicolored creatures, it's kind of like 3 mana for a 3/3, right? You spend 2 for the enchantment, and you spend 1 white mana on the 2/2 detective, so you're getting about a 3 mana 3/3 worth of stats out of this with no other support. So I think that card is still gonna be solid, even if we don't heavily draft around taking a bunch of multicolored creatures. So we'll take the Museum Night Watch, but I think we'll take like a bunch of any hybrid mana disguise cards pretty highly, like Dogwalkers or Granite Witnesses, anything that flips up and all of a sudden it's a big multicolored creature. For pick number 6, some more generic Murders at Karlov Manor stuff. Glint Weaver's a really solid card to have at the top of the curve, or we could do some splashing for Repulsive Mutation, which is a huge counterspell. Counter your opponent's last play and then Well, I say last play because usually they die the turn after you play this, because you're also making one of your creatures a gigantic threat that can end the game, even if it was initially just like a 1/1 or something. So Mutation on the splash would be fine, but I do like Glint Weaver too. It's just a gigantic spider. Get to put those counters wherever you want them, so we'll take that. Ooh, pick 7, there is still an alchemy card here. Scour the Scene. 2 mana for an enchantment that creates a 2/2 detective, so it immediately pays for itself. A 2 mana 2/2. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, choose a creature card in your hand or a creature you control, it perpetually gets +1/+0. So it's really good with those clue tokens that you're getting when you're investigating. As you're sacrificing those, you're buffing the board. There's an escape tunnel here as well, which can help splash in the blue here. I'll take the Scour the Scene. Now I do kind of wish I took the green-blue uncommon. Now that there is an alchemy card, we might try to splash in to try some of the new hotness. Pick 8. Out Cold is going to give us a clue token. It's also just a really good tempo play in general. Stunning multiple creatures, slowing your opponent down. I guess Savior works with the Scrutiny of the Guild Pact being a multicolored creature, but I'm going to take some more blue cards and have that blue-white direction or blue-white-green as a potential place to be. For pick 9, they went this way. Synergizes with our Scour the Scene, giving us a clue token, and it also obviously fixes our mana. If we do go that direction of going 3 colors, there's nothing really strong here. Outside of Undercity Eliminator, it's actually a solid removal spell on a stick kind of creature. Pick 10. None of this is going to be main deck worthy. I'll take like 1 Pick Your Poison. That maybe. If we don't make enough playables, we play like 1 copy. All right, Crowd Control Warden. Pretty filler, but it's a fine, just big, beefy creature. Then, same with all this stuff. And let's see what we open up in pack number 2. Alright, well I don't think we're taking an alchemy card here, because we've opened up Tolsimir Midnight's Light when we're already in green-white. 5 mana for a 3/2 lifelink and a 5/5 trample. It's already completely absurd for the mana cost, but you can also force your opponent into a really bad block on the wolf when Tolsimir attacks, so we'll take that. If we're really lucky, we can get Lush Portico back, but check out what the alchemy card is. Shove Aside. 1 red mana sorcery. If you aren't the starting player, you may cast it as though it had flash, so if you aren't the starting player, it's basically an instant. And you deal 3 to a creature planeswalker. Oh my god, so they just made a strictly better version of Strangle. And Strangle is just a really solid removal spell, especially in limited. 1 mana, 3 damage. Yeah, that's very, very good. But we're not in red, and there's an on-color rare here that works incredibly with our multicolored creature buffer, because it gives us 2 multicolored creatures, so we'll have to just take that here. Pack 2, pick 2. Meticulous Archive looks kind of fancy here. There's no good commons in green or white. I mean, the Vigilante is actually pretty good at the top end, but no, like, great commons here. What is the alchemy card, though? Woodland Investigation. 1 green mana for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It perpetually becomes a clue in addition to its other types and gains 2 mana, sack this, draw a card. That's very cool. That's actually super, super neat. But I'm going to rare draft a little here. I have not completed my collection of this set. As you can see, I only have 2 out of the 4 of this duel, and it's definitely really nice to have 4 of each dual land for sure. And I think Archive is probably just a tiny bit worse than that woodland thing here, because it is also fixing that helps us get the 3rd color, and if we do all 3 colors, and if we're just green-white, we don't really need the fixing that much anyway. Pack 2, pick 3. Definitely need a high creature count for this spell, but Case of the Gateway Express has been very impressive. It clears out one of your opponent's smaller creatures, and then it also buffs your entire board once you get a big attack in, attacking with a bunch of stuff to solve the case. So pretty happy with Case of the Gateway Express here. Really nice red stuff. Would have been happy to be in that color out of this pack. Pack 2, pick 4. These creatures are all really high mana value and dirtily, so we'll take the cheap removal of Hard-Hitting Question, but we do really want to take some more cheap creatures pretty early now that we have Case of the Gateway Express. We need to up that creature count quite a bit from where we're at right now, at just 6 creatures. For pack 2, pick 5. I guess we've got a Disguise creature or an Escape Tunnel. I'll grab the Escape Tunnel. There's also Is It Polarizer. 2 mana for a 2/1. When it dies, conjure a card named Ionize or a card named Electrolyze into your hand. That's a really good deal. Oh my god. 2 mana 2/1 that gives you a counter spell or a removal spell that draws a card when it dies. That's really nice. Obviously, we're pretty far away from that, though. I guess I could try to do the like 4 or 5 color deck here, but I think a lot of our rares are just really nice aggressive creatures that would make us want to prioritize sticking to like 2 colors here. Wow, red is open from this direction. We've got like a Rift Burst Hellion for a filler card to flip up in the late game. Pick 7, Market Watch Phantom. There we go. There's one of the nice cheap creatures to draft highly here. There's Person of Interest and Lightning Helix. Dream Boros Pod. What is going on? Dream Boros Pod. Now we get a Season Consultant. Again, just upping the cheap creature count. They can be pretty filler creatures as long as they're helping us up the count for Case of the Gateway Express. And just helping us curve out into our rares is going to be nice as well. It's a Griffknot Tracker. Another Escape Tunnel over Vigilante, I think. Although, I mean, we only have the 2 blue cards, and they're not, like, crazy worth splashing. I don't think we need more really high mana value creatures, though, like the Vigilante. Alright, so deck is looking fine. We've got huge bombs. We've got pretty decent removal. Again, we just need more solid filler creatures throughout the curve for the most part. And then the deck will look pretty perfect. If there's any like really good blue cards, we can splash them in super easily. Because right now I think we're actually kind of trying to get to the point where we're not splashing blue anymore. Let's see. So this is kind of a creature, but it's pretty expensive. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 creatures. All right, we're getting close. We're getting close to enough creatures. We just need more 2s and 3s to get hard-hitting Question, which requires you to have a creature on board to use, and Case of the Gateway Express, which requires you to have several. We need to really get these to be more consistent. Same with Bite Down on Crime. Like, all of our removal wants us to have a chunk of creatures on board, so we need a lot of 2s and 3s for this deck. For pack 3, pick 1, Rampaging Ursaguana. 6 mana, 4/4 Trample Ward 2 Haste, gets +2/+2 for each time that it has attacked this game, and it has Disguise for 4, so you can disguise this turn 3, flip it up turn 4, send in for 6. Oh my god. Yeah, we take that. That's an alchemy rare right there. Emphasis on rare. That thing is wild. Yaris is pretty cool as well, and with double Escape Tunnel, we could actually go for a red splash instead of like a blue splash here, but this thing seems busted in half. Pack 3, pick 2. We've got Nervous Gardener, which gives us another 2 or 3 mana creature and more fixing, so that's pretty ideal when there's no other green or white creatures. It's a pretty easy pick. For the Alchemy card, there's a Snarlfang Vermin, 1 mana 2/1. When it deals combat damage to a creature, if it's still on the battlefield, suspect it, and it gains this ability. Whenever a suspected creature an opponent controls dies while it's in your graveyard, that opponent loses life. That's really cool. So it's like whispering just madness into people's ears. Now they're suspected, and then that suspects the next creature it fights, and then that suspects the next creature it fights. That's such a cute design. Really neat. All right, pack 3, pick 3. We really didn't get a lot of clue tokens, which is why the Scour the Scene splash is looking weaker and weaker the longer we get, so I don't know about taking a second Scour the Scene here, probably just sticking to our pure green-white yet again, which means taking like a Topiary Panther, a fine top-end creature that can also land cycle in a pinch. Case of the Trampled Garden seems decent too. Just stacking on a bunch of damage early. I'll grab the Panther though. Pack 3, pick 4, Neighborhood Guardian, nice and late, pick 4. This thing is nasty. It's not super great in this deck. We do have a decent amount of power 2 or less creatures, but it's really good in the decks that can have the creatures that spit out multiple power 2 or less creatures off of one spell, so you get multiple triggers on this in one turn. There's like Inside Source, that's a 1/1 and a 2/2, so you get +2/+2. There's Dog Walker, that's 3 1/1s. Or sorry, 2 1/1s, so you get +2/+2 with that as well. It's pretty cool. Sumala Sentry's cool too, buffing all our flipped up creatures, but I really like the efficiency of Neighborhood Guardian. Getting things rolling. Wow, and a Killer Among Us here, pick 5, beautiful. Excellent card for the main set yet again. It is essentially 5 mana for a 4/4 and 2 1/1s, but you can try to play mind games with them. You do have to attack with the 4/4 to put the counters on it and make it the 4/4. So it's slightly more narrow than that, but also slightly more powerful than that in the right position. Like if you're in a board state to attack with everybody, then your opponent doesn't get to know which one is the 4/4, and you can try to blow them out that way, which is cool. All right, I'm going to rare draft a Shadowy Backstreet. Defenestrated Phantom would be okay in this deck. It's kind of a lot of mana to flip it up later, but it does work really well with the Sprout Watch Dryad, which is cute, and we could use 1 or 2 more creatures as options, but I think this is a fine spot to just rare draft. So, pick 7, Get a Leg Up is a really efficient combat trick. We've got Hard-Hitting Question, Bite Down on Crime, Case of the Gateway Express, so we have 3 removal spells still, even if I don't take another. So I think I'm going to go for the super cheap combat trick. Just 1 mana, +2/+2, or +3/+3 reach pretty often. Can really surprise people, and it can be kind of a blowout in the right position. Crowd Control Warden is decent. Just give us another 3 mana Disguiser. That flips into a big endgame threat. Pick 9, we'll take the Cats, but I don't think I'll play it. It's just a 1/1. You have some flip versatility on it, but it's not great flexibility there. And here we are. I think this is our 23 cards. We've kind of just got a deck at the ready, so no deck building required today. Pretty pumped about that. Ooh, we got a Sumala Sentry, so I'm going to cut the Sanctuary Wall for that. I don't think we're slow enough to want the 0/4 Defender. And yeah, this is our deck. We'll just get the mana base and call it a deck there. All right, here's a look at the final deck list for today, and it is a very sweet one. We're on a nice little green-white aggro deck with tons of bombs in it. So we've got 5 2-drops to make sure that we are curving out and getting things rolling. The Nervous Gardener we will want to disguise first and flip up later if we have other 2-drops, but I think we're an aggressive enough deck that we should be more than willing to just drop this as a 2-mana 2/2 to get curving out if it's our only 2-drop. Once we get to 3 mana and higher is where things get a little crazy. First off, we have tons of disguise cards at 3 mana, so a lot of our top end is here as well. We have Museum Night Watch, double Crowd Control Warden, Rift Burst Hellion, and then 3 rares at 3 mana, 2 of which are disguise bombs. One is Rampaging Ursaguana from the Alchemy cards. This is going to be a 6/6 trample the first time it's attacked. Then an 8/8 trample after that. It's just insane. Aurelia's Vindicator's just your regular bomb mythic rare from the main set, where you flip this up, exile your opponent's whole board, maybe some of your graveyard, so that you can get some of your own cards back if this dies. And yeah, just a giant flying lifelinking hard to kill threat. And then we've got Sprout Watch Dryad, which is probably the coolest of our rares, the most unique. This one gets all the abilities of creatures in our hand and on our board. So if we have a Vindicator in hand, then it's going to have Flying Lifelink. If we have an Ursaguana or a Topiary Panther in hand, it's going to have Trample, and so on and so forth. So should be pretty cute. Probably not the most powerful, but fun to try out the new cards here. Once we get to higher mana values, we've got Griffknot Tracker. And the top end gives us Glint Weaver and Topiary Panther, and we have one more bomb rare just for good measure. Tolsimir Midnight's Light, which is a 3/2 lifelink and a 5/5 trample off of just 1 card for 5 mana, which is wild. So tons of really good creatures here, including multiple bombs, solid removal out of the non-creature spells with Hard-Hitting Question, Bite Down on Crime, Make Your Move in Case of the Gateway Express, as well as some more creature-producing cards like a Killer Among Us and Scrutiny of the Guild Pact being a new one from Alchemy. So really cool deck today that looks pretty powerful. but we'll see how well it actually plays out as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game 1 with a definite keep. It is a little bit slow. We're not really going to get started till turn 3, but from then on we are playing tremendously impactful plays every turn. We could play the face down or Sigwana, flip it turn 4. Turn 5 we play Tolsimir. Turn 6 face down Night Watch and flip it. And turn 7 Glint Weaver. This looks really, really good. Playing against a black-white deck so far. They start off with a shadowy backstreet. They're creeping around. They've got a preview at the Assassin's Creed Universes Beyond set right there. They're going to start with Scour the Scene. Really solid card if they can sacrifice a lot of clues. That's going to make their creatures in hand or on board get a bunch of +1s. So sack 1 clue, 1 card gets +1/+0. Sack 2, they could give 2 different cards +1/+0, or the same one +2/+0. Just keeps ramping up from there. So it looks like Esper from our opponent, blue, white, and black, and Forensic Gadgeteer is a great combo for the Scour the Scene. It's going to make it so they investigate every time they cast an artifact spell, and here we're going to have some mana issues awkwardly. We didn't actually hit the second green for this Ursa Guana, so we're just going to have to play a face-up Museum Night Watch and chill. Unfortunate stuff there. We do have more green sources than white sources, so just a rough hit of variance on that one. Yeah, we're on 8 forests, 7 plains, double escape tunnel as the mana base. If they didn't have a 2/3 down, I would have been real happy to just attack with my disguise card. Just so it has attacked one time, so when we do flip it, it's a little bigger. But they have a 2/3 down, so I didn't want to just run into that. What is this? They may choose an online card in your hand. If you do, it incorporates 1 and a black. When you cast it, each opponent sacks a creature or discards a card. Okay, well that's insane. It's a 4-mana 5/4 with a bunch of upside. Okay, so we're going to have to sack a creature soon. So, and I guess I could just sack the 2/2 Detective after trading with this, and that's fine, but I want to be able to trade in these bigger creatures. We just take the 2 for now. Sumala Sentry. So when we're flipping stuff up, it gets bigger. It's pretty cute, but let's just go Tolsimir, right? Bunch of stats off 1 card is always pretty good, which is why a Killer Among Us was probably a super fine choice too. It's basically Tolsimir at home. All right, there goes our wolf. Sad day. Tolsimir's all alone. All right, well, this is thing. Could kill both of these or just the 5/4. They've only got 2 mana up. Guess it could be the +2/+2 trick, which would be worse for me if I try to kill the 5/4 than if I just try to kill these 2 individually. Let's do this. That's fine. If they don't play another creature, then just gaining 3 on the crackback's pretty dang good. So I guess just this looks best. We do go to 9, but we can go back up to 12, potentially. Not a lot of 2-mana creatures that can just eat a Tolsimir. Yeah, so Tolsimir can attack in. Still no second green. Definitely unfortunate. I still am not going to want to block with this thing, because it's just so deadly if we can flip it. So I think we send it in here to get the bonus of having attacked 1 time for if we do manage to flip it up later. Plus, because it's a disguise card, we can bluff that we can flip it here, but they did not accept that bluff. Killer Among Us. The killer is the human. Now, we can't block the Leering Onlooker, but we can block everything else here. Oh, and yeah, now the sack is really bad. Goodbye, Merfolk. Just like no value from the sack there. Sending the Detective in the 5/4. Yep. I'd go to 4 here. It's a rough life right now. It's a rough life, but 1 is not 0. We have more than enough cards to turn this game around if we can just find another green source. Yeah, we can't attack in with the face down this turn either. If we don't find the green source, the Glint Weaver's just stuck in our hand too now. At least I can block everything at this point. Send and gain the 3, flip this into the 4/4 Death Touch, so we've got a 4/4 Death Touch on blocks. Well, not a 4/4 Death Touch, but a 4/4 on future blocks. Amogus. Okay. Here's 2 blockers. Please stop killing me with the 5/4. Ooh, Vigilante, buff up the Onlooker. That's pretty great. Luckily, a 1/3 reach stacks up perfectly against that. So we just keep that around forever. Do I have to just lose my bomb? I kind of feel like I do at this point. Because if I hit my green source, I just play Glint Weaver now and I'm still ahead. And if I don't hit my green source, I'm just so dead. Now that they have 2 4/4s, I need to trade this into this. These into that. Yeah, this kind of is such a bummer, but our mana has just drawn so poorly this game. We're stuck with this, I think. Of course. Alright, well, this is still putting us in the winning position. We put 1 counter here, 2 here, and then we have 2 5/5s, which both beat the 4/4, so we can attack in freely and then still have perfect blocks, unless they hit removal. Yeah, this is still the winning board state, and I don't think we could just keep fully gambling on top deck Forest there, so... If we didn't top deck the Forest like exactly then, and I didn't clear out the 5/4, oh, come on, Watchdog now to buff Vigilante. Ooh, okay, never mind. Watchdog's dead. But yeah, they hold Onlooker back, and our 5/5 doesn't have great attacks anymore. I guess it still has decent attacks. I could also try to send everybody in, but then Sentry is just a chump attack. Alright. Really good draw from them with the Watchdog, but we just find the interaction immediately, so just blank that. And I suppose, yeah, they double block my 5/5 with a Vigilante and an Onlooker. I kill the Vigilante, and then they only have 3 power on the board, and I can actually just start attacking with Glint Weaver. Gotten ourselves in a top deck war here. It's a pretty good start to a top deck war. 5 to flip up. I don't have the mana to cast this and flip it up in the same turn. I feel like it's worth holding on to it because of Sumala Sentry's ability. Not keeping it in hand, but holding on to the flip ability here. Alright, the double surveil on this Gorehound from getting the bats is pretty sweet. Really set up them draws. Really scour the scene, you might say. Not really, they actually haven't made a single clue token with that card. They are really looking through their graveyards. They're probably collecting some evidence here. Or they got the pick 2 creatures up thing. Nope, collecting evidence. There goes my 5/5. Big bummer. Big bummer, but we're still ahead on board thanks to our other 5/5 we're about to flip up. Actually, I think a 6/6 because Sentry's ability. Yeah, 6/6. Sweet. Yeah, they've definitely got some time that they're buying with their tokens. Get in for the menace damage. They crack back for 2, I'm at 11. Let's actually send in the squad. Alright, so far so good. This is not lethal if they don't block. I can hit for 10 if they don't. So we're just not going to use this. And they did block anyway. If you're playing against a black deck in this format and you don't have a ton of card draw in your deck, sometimes it is beneficial to hold 1 land. Oh my god. I was going to say beneficial to hold 1 because there's a card that makes you discard exactly 1 card in black at common. So both these creatures get -2/-2, and I lose 4 life in my upkeep. That probably just single-handedly wins them the game. They are at 9 and we have a combat trick, so maybe we can still sneak in for the kill here, but I think like a 0/2 and a 4/4, I think we're dead. Unless I top deck a creature right now so that get a leg up's +3/+3 so we eat the crocodile without losing a creature. Oh my god. Yeah. No, I think we just got Alchemy Mythic. Seems strong. Well. Alright then. I guess I only lose 2 life a turn if they take this trade. They're going to take the 4. Okay, if they don't have removal for Sentry, then trumping with Sentry is so much better than trading Warden into Crocodile. Excogitator Sphinx? 4/4 flyer. When they deal damage to us, they investigate. Oh, and they get the clues to go with the scour the scene. Yeah, now they have 2 blockers up. They can just sit here and watch us die to stab wounds now. I mean, if I can somehow get 5 creatures on board, I can escape Tunnel Sentry and give it +5/+5. That's a turn too late. We could have escape tunneled this while it was face down, then flipped it up to kill them. But it's just 1 turn off. Because the escape tunnel can make a creature power 2 less unable to be blocked. I guess it might not be a turn too late, because if we lose the Warden on the attack, then I only have 1 stab wound on board, so I go to 1 and I'm alive. Also, I could just trump Sphinx. A turn too late or right on time? Let's find out. I do have to hold 2 blockers up to not die, so there's that. See, the thing here is if I get a leg up, I have another stab wound on my board, and they can just pass turn and I'll die. So now it's +3/+3. I think I was supposed to post-combat this 2/2. Yeah. Because now if they block, I don't want to get a leg up. Wojek Investigator, sure. Force the double block. Man. Yeah, then I don't get to keep the Warden around. I mean, I do get to keep it around, but I don't get to make it unblockable with Escape Tunnel and kill them with that. Make this 3/5 that's still... I mean, it would live, but it wouldn't kill the Sphinx, so... We can force them to chump the Crowd Control Warden with the Wojek Investigator by keeping that on board, and we have to draw something. I guess it makes us so if we draw removal, we win. So we've got an out here. This way. Well, our opponent really went mythic into rare for their 3 draws to end this game. That is an explosive deck. Reenact the crime? Recast it and put a stab wound on board again? Oh my god! They went mythic into rare? Because they hit reenact as well off the top? Alright, well, what are you gonna do? That's a shame. That is a shame. I think the main thing that we genuinely did wrong that we could have changed things around with is if I had played the second Crowd Control Warden post-combat, then we would have been in position to trade Get a Leg Up into their Crocodile thing. And we could have lost our Stab Wounded Creature so that we wouldn't be dead on board, so that then I could go for the Escape Tunnel Crowd Control kill the turn after that, because we also would have killed the Crocodile thing, so we wouldn't have had to chump with the 2/2. That would have found the kill. The earlier play, where I decided to trade off my face-down Bomb Rare and another 2/2 into their 5/4, I think that was just correct, because we didn't know what we were going to draw, and if our draw was anything other than the green source, we were so dead. Just taking another 5 there. Because then we just have to do that trade next turn anyway while we're at like 1 life at that point, so I think that play was fine, but I didn't realize the weird little intricacies of having a stab wound on your entire board, making you actually want to trade the Warden off instead of eat the Crocodile. Because again, if we ate the Crocodile, we'd have 2 stab wound creatures on board at 3 life, and they could just pass the turn and we'd die. So we had to be able to specifically exactly trade into the Crocodile. We needed to be able to make our Crowd Control Warden a 6/6, not a 7/7. Had we done that, I think we would have won. Because they wouldn't have had the Crocodile to attack back with, so I only had to chump with the Reach creature. And then we Escape Tunnel the face down Warden, send it in. Well, I guess we might not have won, right? Because if they made us chump with the Reach creature, we'd have 0 creatures on board, so when I did flip up the Warden, it'd be a 4/4. So I can make it unblockable, then make it a 4/4, put them to 1. But yeah, if they forced me into the chump, we might still would have lost there. If they sent in the Sphinx thing. Forced me to chump with that. Still was definitely the wrong play. We also got blown out by a bunch of rares, but we definitely could have played it out differently. That'll be 0-1 heading into game number 2. That was kind of what you expect from Alchemy Drafts. Just 50 bombs all across the board, both sides of the board too. Unfortunately, our bomb was face down the whole time. All right. Round number 2, we get another shot from the Ursiguana. We are on the draw against a black deck. There's the 3rd mana. It's no second green source, though. There it is. We get to Ursiguana this time. I think we are just curving out with the most aggressive creatures we can, because we're going to be attacking with a 6/6 on turn 4. So we want to hit for damage rather than set up some 2/2s later. They miss a land drop? Yes, they did, because they are on the play. Unfortunate for our opponent. 1 missed land drop against something as insane as the Rampaging Ursiguana could just be the game. Because this has Ward 2 as well, so it's going to cost so much mana for them to kill it. I guess they're in black, so they could have like Murder, so it would cost 5 mana to kill it. But any red, like damage-based removal would be 1,000,000. No way! The Slice from the Shadows on the Ursiguana. Will I ever get to use it? So far, the odds are not looking great. That's really disappointing. That's 2 for 2 absolute bummers for the Rampaging Ursiguana. Forge the Phantom. Okay, so this is just the 23 removal spell, 17 lands kind of deck over there. Yeah, And they still have no creatures on board. We are still getting as aggressive as possible here. Sorry, Scrutiny of the Guild Pact. It's going to be a while. Probably got to set that up next turn, make sure we get something out of it. Beginning of your end step, conjure a Dual Leech onto the battlefield. So 4 mana for 2/2/4s. And then they keep putting +1/+1 counters on it. They can also sack the Dual Leech to get 3 mana out of it, because they can wait till post-combat. They can have it buff itself, then sack it, get 3 power. Or sorry, 3 mana. Then end step, conjure a new one. That's insane, as you expect from the alchemy rares. They are down to 13, and they have nothing to block the flyer, at least. Make your move does not kill creatures with toughness 4 or greater, so all we're doing right now is sending it in the sky. 1 mana from Panther. It's actually looking really awkward for Scrutiny the Guild Pact, because I kind of want to just play a 6/6 right now. I think we're just playing a 6/6, because that is big enough to matter against a bunch of 2/4s. Alright, so yeah, buff it up, hit for 3, sack it for mana, get a new one, is definitely a play they can do. And they have 8 mana to play with here, even if they didn't hit a land drop this turn. They missed a land drop turn 3, and then they've hit a land every single turn from there. Gearbane Orangutan, we get a 4/4 reach thanks to that clue token so that the tracker can't get it anymore, but we have the make your move to kill that to keep hitting them in the sky. You gonna sack the Dual Leech for a new one, or just keep Fergul untapped? Okay, just keep Fergul untapped and buff the Dual Leech permanently. Well, now I drew Escape Tunnel, which was the 1 out of 26 cards that I would have wanted to not play Warden yet for. I don't have to incorporate a white mana to the Panther if I don't want to, because if I do and I don't top deck a basic, I can't play Panther next turn. So I could play Scrutiny the Guild Pact just to buff the Warden and just not even make the 2/2 off of it later. But I don't need to buff the Warden right now. Yeah, and the extra 2/2 at this point in the game isn't going to be that crazy. I guess I might as well buff the Warden. But I think I'm choosing not to make Panther cost more. Just in case I don't hit a land, I can still play a big Trampler. Very awkward showing from Scrutiny of the Guild Pact. They gotta chump with somebody. Or that's Exactsies. So chump with the face down, and it is Nervous Gardener. Alright. Perfectly fine chump then. Hello? That ever happened to you? You're just trying to click on one card in your library and it just keeps dancing around your cursor. It's like, please get out of the deck. Please jump onto the board. I am in need of a plains. Dual Leech to buff Fergul. Oh, it only buffs creatures with power 2 or less, that's why. Never mind. They didn't have a choice but to buff that way. I guess I could have held on to Escape Tunnel because then... Actually, no, not... Because I've played the Scrutiny, I couldn't, but theoretically, if we don't have a Scrutiny on board in the future, if we get a 2/2 detective token, We can make that unblockable with Escape Tunnel. But if we have Scrutiny on board, it's a 3/3 detective, so that doesn't work. Alright. That's a lot of blockers. Hello, Vindicator. Hello. They have 6 power on board. One of these needs to be a pretty good flip to kill the Warden. I guess they can chump with Dual Leeches forever with Fergul. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, so we play the Vindicator, and I'm going to play it face down. Not because I think I need to exile a bunch of stuff, but because if they don't kill it, if they just assume it's a random face down like Nervous Gardener, then we have exact lethal in the sky next turn. Although, if they hit removal, they're going to kill the Griffknot tracker anyway, so we won't have lethal regardless if they find removal. And they found a forest, so we might have got there. What is a quag? Or a quag? What is a nurturer of a quag? Okay, 14 life. I don't see how this possibly kills me, but... Night Watcher places itself, so I might as well. Vengeful Creeper. Kills my Scrutiny. I guess that means I only get a 2/2 instead of a 3/3. Alright, well I hit the mana to flip this for 1, 2, 3, 4, for 1 and still pay the ward, so I can make sure that doesn't have reach. Which I don't think anything in the main set would for just 2 mana and black-red, but some of these alchemy cards are wild. Alright, there's the concession. That is lethal in the sky, and we are 1-1 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3 on the draw, definitely hoping to draw some lands, but we have many draw steps to do so. 1 land gets us very far, thanks to this Nervous Gardener. We've got the Sumala Sentry Nervous Gardener combo to get some big buffs going pretty quickly. Kind of crazy the Hellion doesn't have trample. I guess I understand it for balancing reasons, but flavor reasons. I guess this thing just zeroes right in on the one creature that's blocking it. Just eats that, stops going any farther. Like hovers over from above like the Pixar lamp or something. Just squishes it. Well, I've hit every land I need now. If I don't hit land 5 next turn, I could just play Flip the Gardener in 1 turn. And now that I don't have the Sentry, I don't care too much about flippies. Here's a Reach Sprout Watch Dryad. Don't ask questions. Don't figure out why it has Reach. Well, this could help my opponent figure out what's in my hand. Like, oh, they got a Reach creature in hand. Wonder what that is. Big Rift Burst Hellion. Yeah. Maybe this player was the red player in my draft pod where the entire pod, including myself, decided to pass like 5 copies of Galvanize in pack 2. Alright, Escape Tunnel's pretty good. How have I drawn like both Escape Tunnels every game? Yeah, that's going to be land 5 for Killer Among Us, so we can go like this. Nintendo Wii. Alright, they're stuck on 3 mana still. If we don't clear out that Pyrotechnic Performer, we can take a lot of damage from their flip-ups, but still think it's best to spend this turn on the Killer Among Us, which is the Goblin. Obviously, red is sus. 1 mana away from Hellion, so we can do that next turn. Although, 14 life. I am scared of performers shooting us in the face every time they flip, so it may be worth bite down on crime plus play Gardener. And we can just face up Gardener at this point. Like, if we can get the evidence engrave, I guess we'd rather, 4 mana? Shouldn't be anything that beats all my stuff here. They have to play a combat trick from their hand. Oh, I guess it could be an alchemy card. There are alchemy cards that'll win this super bad. What the heck is this? When it or another permanent you control's turn face up, seek a non-elephant, just cloak it? Is that what it says? Jesus Christ. Triggers only once. Okay. I guess that's how it's quote-unquote fair. That's still insane. Alright, well, they have killed the entire Killer Among Us card now. And we don't have the evidence engraved for a 2-mana bite down on crime. So... face up Nervous Gardener, 4-mana bite down on crime. Or you just play double face down, but now they have another thing to flip. They have a cloaked 3-mana or less card. It's another 3 damage to me, puts me down to like 8. Ooh, this is nasty. Well, so far, this alchemy format looks great. If you want to just... if you like explosions, and you like fireworks, and you just want insane blowouts all over the place with like 10 bombs per deck. I thought our deck looked insane when I looked at it. I'm like, this is so many bombs. Until I've seen our opponent's decks. And I'm like, okay, so everyone just has a million bombs. Which I guess makes sense, right? Play boosters already upped the rare count, and now with alchemy cards each pack, many alchemy cards are rares. So... there's like 2 rares per pack minimum. Sometimes there's like 4 rares in a pack, because there's an alchemy rare and 3 from the play booster. Yeah, this is wild. This is just insanity. Oh, that's the only removal spell I wouldn't want to see there. Any burn-based removal, I was going to be happy to get a leg up, but it's not burn. It is White's 1 instant speed removal spell. Well, this is alchemy. They might have more now. As far as I remember, though, that's the only instant speed white removal spell at common in the main set. There's an uncommon that exiles specifically an attacking creature. I guess if they had, like, makeshift binding at sorcery speed, that would still have been just as bad for us. Crack the clue, draw a card. We're at 9 here, and we know this is 3 mana or less, so it's probably hitting for like 3 max. So we're on a 3-turn clock from that alone, but they hit another creature. I was seeing if we wanted to start attacking for 6 and trying to flip the race in our favor, but if they play another creature, I don't really think that's an option. Well, hold on. Lifelink makes it an option. Rather not spend get a leg up here, but I will if they make me. Alright, cool. Do not show me more removal. Just get blocked off by Tolsimir and let me flip the race in my favor. Let me gain all the life. I've got the goodest duo over here. Shove aside. No, Tolsimir's gonna stick around. You scooched him a couple inches to the left. That's all you did. That's all the shove is. You do get a free attack, because I'm not losing Tolsimir. Alright, no artifact to use with the crook. Land off the top. So only if I attack with Tolsimir do I force a block with the 5/5. Okay, so I can make Tolsimir trade here, and the 5/5 trade there. And get the 6/6 through, take 3 on the crackback. That'll be at 9, so I'll stay at 6. That feels good. Yeah, this isn't going to be like 6 power. It's a 3 drop, so they can't kill me on the crackback if they choose not to block with the face down. Alright, so they can only trade with Tolsimir. They can't just eat them. And here we go, 6/7 versus 3/2. Top deck war, 6/7 versus 3/2. See how it goes. The numbers are favorable, but they did get... Ooh! I was going to say the numbers are favorable, but they got the first draw in the top deck war. But we drew our bomb. And that's insta-death. That is 2 and 1. More rares blowing everything up. We got to do Tolsimir and Ursa Guana that game, and they were both absolutely wild. And our opponent got really cool combos going. They had the Pyrotechnic Performer to damage us every time they flipped something, and the Sleuth Instructor that not only flips up, but it cloaks another creature for a great 2-for-1 value, and makes it so that creature can flip up as well. Now, the Performer was dead at that time, so they didn't get extra damage off the cloaked Market Watch Phantom, but it was still really cool. Little red-white disguise deck going there, and a very close game of Magic. We are now 2-1 heading into Game 4. Here we are for Game 4. We did get to Ursa Guana last game, but I wonder if this will be like the first two and something's going to happen here. We're not going to hit the second green, or they're going to kill the Ursa Guana. Because the one time we did get to Ursa Guana, we just cast it as a 6-drop off the top when our opponent was already probably losing. Will we get the super fast turn 4 flip Ursa Guana? That's the big question. We are against Boros, so that is a lot of cheap removal, potentially. Seasoned Consultant. Alright, they're just on that mega aggro curve right now. Luckily, that reach on the smallest entry is actually pretty big. So, if I just play the Ursa Guana face down, I've got no guarantee I'm hitting the green source, but I'm gonna gamble. If we don't hit it, we can Topiary Panther for a land and play the Case in the same turn and kill one of their 2/2s to slow them down. I'd rather not lose the Sentry, but it's still worth soak up some damage if they don't have the trick. Because this is their attack, whether or not they have a trick. Alright, we've got the mana, so... We're flipping on blocks, aren't we? That's kind of weird. I think we are. I guess I could go face-up Gardener Case here, which is kind of cool too. Yeah, it gets rid of a 3/3. It's actually a pretty big game. And then just trading this as a 2/2. Perfectly fine. They've got a Galvanize here, it's kind of bad. Galvanize the Sentry will only deal 2 damage. But I think they would have just used it during their turn. Alright, let's get 1 +2/+2 on the Ursa Guana. Ready. This hand, like, super wins the long game, so I will be trading here. Actually, probably flip this around. Kill the one that's potentially flying, because if they find removal, it's going on the Sentry. Ooh, on the job. Slightly gross, but we're still fine. Especially with that Killer Among Us mana. Flip this as an 8/8, put them to 10 is fun, but make sure I've got the blocks up. We'll go Merfolk this time. This thing's a 10/10 when I flip it now. one card in their hand at this point. It is not another trick. It's a person of interest, 2 more creatures, it's still pretty good. And they have exactly the mana to crack the clue, so they have 2 cards in their hand next turn. Scrutiny of the Guild Pact. Interesting. Yeah, maybe it would have been worth it to play 1 mountain for Hellion, because I do have the land cycler and 2 escape tunnels. Because I'm noticing that here, I kind of want to cycle Panther, since there's nothing else I can do in the same turn as flipping the face down. And that would be the only big point in doing it, is getting a mountain specifically would be sweet. Alright, I'm just gonna die to on the job off the top. I'll give them a shot here. Be cool. Like, both of these creatures are heavily incentivized to attack. Every time I attack with the face down, I get +2/+2 on it in the future, and by attacking with the merfolk, I might get a 4/4 for the future. Actually, I'm not even dead on the job. They have to double up. On the job deals 12 to me. So 4 times 3 is 12. So they have to hit exactly on the job, and their other draw has to be like a shock or a combat trick or something to kill me. They need 7 more damage than they have on board. Alright, here we go! Woo! 10-10! Alright. They've got 1 turn to get me. Unless they hit a makeshift binding. They could pay the ward on the Ursiguana and exile it. Or a major move. Yeah, if they hit white removal spells, they can kill Ursiguana and just get on blockers mode. Jump with the 2/2 detective. I guess the person of interest and the red herring can't block, though. No way! That's 8 damage. Alright, well. Top deck hero, I guess I deserved that. Again, both of our creatures heavily incentivized us to attack, but it was definitely safer not to send the Ursiguana in. I was like, alright, I guess if they hit it on the job, they can do it. And then I was like, well, we're not even dead on the job, so I guess this isn't that bad. There's the 1 card we're dead to. 2-2, heading into game 5. Starting things off with Sumala Sentry again. We don't have any morph cards this time, any disguise cards, but we've got a really good Tolsimir at the top end, so... never mind. Vindicator's here. And if they tap out for anything... yeah, I was gonna say, if they tap out for anything here, they're just dead. They have lost the game. Let's go. Not really, but we have a 2/4 and a 5/3 flying lifelink ward 2 now. And then we play a Tolsimir next turn if we hit a land. Like, I don't see how we possibly lose, especially if they block. Although there have been a lot of games here I didn't think there was a very big shot of losing. That we've just been demolished. Like last game. Okay, there's a Private Eye. Things are not looking fair at all right now. We hit the 5th mana too. Gross. Fair and balanced magic. Oh no, we need double white. Never mind. We hit the wrong 5th mana. Okay, so... by scrutiny, I'm just putting it on Tolsimir. That's awkward. I guess I could just gain 1,000,000 and kill Private Eye. Yeah, if I did that pre-combat, I thought I could cast Tolsimir, so that's why I didn't. But if I did that pre-combat, I could have hit for 2 more. So I should have done that pre-combat. But I thought I was playing Tolsimir. I misremembered the double pip. I was thinking of double green instead of double white. Granite Witness. That's going to be a bummer for our opponent, because it is an artifact creature, which means I can blow it up. Escape tunnel? Oh no, really? Is that how it's going to be? Only skilled gameplay there. Actual, just masterful gameplay. I'm the greatest player of all time. Nothing can stop me. Pure skill, no luck required. 3-2 heading into game number 6. Here we are on the play for game 6. We got the Ursa-Guana. Let's go. Need double green to flip it, so we start with the escape tunnel for a forest. A Topiary Panther. I've got a 4 mana and a 5 mana flip coming up. I don't hate turning this into a plains. And that's the double white if I hit Vindicator or Tolsimir. No counter. No reasonable doubt. Please and thank you. This is astronomically better than playing Crowd Control Warden if they don't have the counter spell. So I gotta go for it. Alright, they had an instant which got me really worried, but it is not the counter spell. Okay, this thing maintains Ward 2 the whole time, and there's no 1 mana blue or green removal against it, so boom. Take 6. Now they could hit a 4th mana and then they could play the bounce spell, but that would require all 4 of their mana. It's 2 mana to return a non-land permanent, and again, we'd still have it, it would just be in our hand again. So this seems like a very, very good start. With a completely busted rare. His alchemy cards are fair. Yeah, this is the main set version of Rampaging Ursa-Guana. That's not quite as good. I need 4 evidence in my grave to target it though, which means that I can't not trade Ursa-Guana into it because of the Death Touch. I can't get 4 evidence in grave to target it. I can... So the evidence from Bite Down on Crime won't be in grave until... You know what? For science, this is a 4 mana value spell. Can I use this as the evidence itself? No, I can't. No, I can't. Because it's going to get countered by the ward ability, and that is what puts it in grave. Yeah, no, I can't. I can't use that as the evidence. I mean, trade and hit them for 4 can't be that bad, right? Honestly. Probably not, but like I can definitely get evidence into the grave sometime. I'm gonna hold off. Alright, buff the Ferox. Give it a +1/+1 counter. Unreadable ability on the stack. You gotta love Parallax card styles. Case of the Trampled Garden. Uh-oh. They're gonna make this Ferox bigger than the Ursa-Iguana? Be pretty hard to do. I guess on attacks, sure, but not on blocks. It's still an 8/8 when we attack with it the first time. This is enough mana value to bite down on crime after it dies, so we'll send it in, and we're pretty cool with them killing it so we can bite down on crime. I could also just go big damage here. 8, trample for 1. 1, 2 more, play tracker. It's not that big damage. Okay, let it in. Hit for 5. Sure. Down to 11. They get Death Touch Trample going off that case. That's going to be scary. Yep, there's their own bite down on crime. Some big damage here. That solves the case. And they've got a 1/1 chumper. Oh dear. If it weren't for the chumper, I think we're still in a really good spot. The chumper's a little annoying. Okay. So, bite down on crime without collecting evidence so that I can collect the evidence to kill the Ferox. And then I have 2 mana up, which means all I can do is just a +1/+1 trick, so we don't do anything with that. Alright. There's the chump. It's their 3 cards in hand versus a 5/5 and my 4 cards in hand. I think we are ahead. Alright, Hide in Plain Sight's a massive 2 for 1. Pick the best creatures out of their top 5 and cloak them. So it's 2 2/2s at worst if it's 5 lands on top. At best, they hit some really solid creatures to flip up on blocks and blow me out. There's some creatures that are like cheap mana values, but really expensive flip costs that are like really big blowouts with that card. Like the Rubble Belt thing that puts a +1/+1 counter on your whole board, gives it all trample. Then you could flip it up for just 4 mana, which is pretty wild. I'm gonna get into combat before I do anything so I can hold up my little +1/+1 trick, but I'm probably just playing Glintweaver post-combat. I don't think the +1/+1 is gonna be particularly meaningful. They held 3 mana up very specifically, though. They didn't use the Rubble Belt on anything. I'm gonna take it. They're gonna try to crack back for lethal. If they don't have specifically a counterspell, then the Glintweaver still seems really nice here. If they have a counterspell, it's a little better to just try to play 2 blockers. But like the life gain from Glintweaver is going to be huge to ruin their racing plans. I'm going to go for it. Alright, still no counter. Just load that up. I still gain 5 even if they kill the Glintweaver or bounce in response. Sick. We're at 17 now. Get to gain the whole 6. Alright, Rubble Belt to face down for a +1/+1 counter. send in that face down, put another counter on it, and let's see. If one creature breaks through, we're lethal with Get a Leg Up, so that's the hope, the dream, the plan. 7 mana here. Play 2 face downs and still Get a Leg Up. And Get a Leg Up gets better the more creatures I have on board. And I can't really play around the counter a spell unless the player pays X, where X is the greatest power, because they could do X equals 4 to put 4 counters on this, and it'll be counter unless I pay 8. So even if I hold all my mana up, I can't pay 8. All right. Ooh, out cold? Yeah, very good. Very, very good card. This really is making me think they have something like the Rubble Belt there. I guess they just put a counter on that, and then that's already... I have no good blocks. If I can keep Riftburst Hellion, I can flip it up, hit them for 6 next turn. So I could double block the 3/3, see how they order it. If they do any kind of trick, we get a leg up here. Yep. +4/+4, so even if I use it on Nervous Gardener still dies. And if they have any response on either of these, they both die. So I'll just use it on the Hellion. Right, they bounce one in response, the other dies. They kill one in response, the other dies. They counter and they both die. There's the counter unless X, alright. I mean, that just fully wins in the game no matter what, I think. Whenever they wanted to use that. Yeah. Unless we top deck like a champion, and the Forest is the worst top deck. Well, lands are the worst top deck. So that's game. They've already got lethal on board with the case. Well, if these are at least 2/2s underneath. Or I guess 4/4s, right? Because they flip up the same. They had double mutation? Alright, well, we were never winning. Card is busted. Okay. Well, that's kind of a bummer. 3/3 here with a deck that looked super good, but we've seen some insanity in this format. I don't think there's a single game where one player, either me or my opponent, didn't play at least like 3 rares, right? Like our opponent did Eidetic Memory, Hide in Plain Sight, and Axebane Ferox. And the Hide in Plain Sight and Ferox were incredible here. The memory was just okay. And we played just Ursiguana. Feels like that's how most of the games have been. We played 1 or 2 rares and our opponents played like 3+. Our first loss, they played like 3 in a row off the top in a top deck war. It was, or no, it was even worse. It was Mythic into rare, right? So they played the one that let them recast the Stab Wounder thing. Yeah. If you like explosive bomb-heavy games of Magic, good lord, this is the most bomb-heavy draft I have ever played. I don't know if that's just some variance from the deck we ended up with and the decks that we ended up playing against today, or just how the format is in general, but I kind of feel like it's how the format is in general. Again, play boosters are more rare-heavy than any booster we've seen in the past, and they added alchemy cards in every pack, and the only rarities in alchemy are uncommon, rare, and mythic. So a lot of the time those alchemy cards are rares and mythics, and alchemy rares and mythics are tremendously pushed. So most of the time when you get an alchemy rare or a mythic, it's going to be a bomb rare. So incredibly explosive stuff. Probably the most high variance magic we've had since Momir last week. This is just like lottery wheel MTG here, where explosive things are happening everywhere. I think most of our rares was just like, oops, or Sigwanad, oops, Vindicated. Or most of our wins were, yeah, just explosive bombs, and most of our losses were as well. A lot of explosive bombs. Our losses were much longer games of Magic, I think, for the most part. But it has been all pretty rare dependent stuff. Super, super, super explosive games. So if that's your kind of thing, this is the format for you. For me, I'm not loving it, but it is still a little spicier, a little more interesting than regular Murders at Karlov Manor this late into the format, so we will be doing plenty more of these drafts throughout the week. But as it stands for now, we started off with a 3-3 average run, grabbing 1,000 gems and 2 packs as our prizes. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.